My 6-year-old daughter has recently gotten hooked on the cartoon series Spidey and His Amazing Friends on Disney Plus. And if you don't have young kids, this is a TV show that reimagines Spider-Man for a preschool audience. And it also includes a lot of cameos and guest appearances from other characters in the Marvel Universe, again, reimagined for a preschool audience. And apparently the dog Lockjaw from one of Marvel's characters makes several appearances in the show. And my daughter really likes dogs, so she got really hooked on Lockjaw. And she, there are several books that are tie-ins to these cartoons that you can get from the library. And my daughter wanted me to find a book about Lockjaw. So I searched through the library system and I found this. This is not a tie-in to the Spidey and His Amazing Friends show, but it is a book about Lockjaw. And as you can see from the cover, it is kind of geared towards a younger audience. In fact, not kind of, it's definitely geared towards a younger audience. My daughter's 6. I think this is probably a little bit too advanced for her, although she will probably be able to enjoy some of it. I haven't passed it off to her yet. I wanted to read it first myself. It's recommended here on the back as Marvel for ages 10 plus. And yeah, maybe 10 is the ideal age for this. But anyways, ordered this from the library. I've read it myself first before handing it off to her. I think, well, we'll see what she makes of it. But before we see what she makes of it, I'm going to talk about what I made of it. So these are my thoughts. So this is a comic which is obviously geared towards kids, but which I think is in the Marvel continuity. Although, as I've said in previous videos, I don't know as much about Marvel continuity as I do about DC. I know DC continuity is just a mess at this point with so many reboots. I don't think Marvel's is quite as bad. I don't know. But it's, there are 2 series here, Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers 1 through 4, and Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers Unleashed 1 to 4. So 2 little mini-series that are collected in one volume. I believe these came out around 2008, 2009. And as the title suggests, it's a team-up of the Pet Avengers. So these are, I've double-checked this on Wikipedia, and these are all animal characters that have previously appeared in other Marvel stories. So there's Lockjaw, who is, I think he's associated with the Eternals. There's a frog version of Thor called Throg, I believe. Thor plus Frog, Throg, who seems like a character who'd just be made up to appeal to kids. Well, I'm sure he is a character who's just made up to appeal to kids, but he's actually a pre-existing character, believe it or not. He's not just created simply for these comics, at least not according to Wikipedia. And we have Hairball, who I guess is Speedball's cat, who's a character I've never heard of before. The Falcon's animal sidekick. And some sort of dragon who I think is associated with Kitty Pryde and the X-Men. And there are a few more animals who actually will show up before the story is done. But Thanos is going around collecting Infinity Gems. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, right, okay, sure enough, they're tying everything into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. But actually, these stories, I think, came out in 2008, 2009, originally. So, or 2009, 2010, excuse me. 2009 and 2010 originally. And that Thanos movie didn't come out until when? That didn't come out until 2016 or 2017, right? So I don't know if they were already thinking about that big crossover that far in the future at this point. But I don't know. The point being that these comics predate that movie by several years. Anyways, that being said, the plot is very similar to those movies. Thanos wants to collect all the Infinity Gems. Lockjaw hears about this when he overhears a conversation between some of the other superheroes, and he decides to take it upon himself to assemble a group of animals to hide the to collect the Infinity Gems to keep them safe from Thanos. So first he gets the frog version of Thor. And then he gets the Falcon, and then Hairball, who's a sidekick of a character named Speedball, and has these balls of light or balls of energy that the cat can hurl at things. And again, this is a pre-existing comic character who had these powers. And then the dog, whose name is Ms. Lion. Now, according to Wikipedia, Ms. Lion is actually not from the comics. Ms. Lion is from the 1980s cartoon Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Not to be confused with the 2001 cartoon Spidey and His Amazing Friends. I think I'm remembering that right. Double check me on Wikipedia. So I guess this is the first time Ms. Lion is integrated into the comics, apparently. So he introduces himself as Ms. Lion. So my name is Ms. Lion. My master's nephew is Spider-Man. So I'm a hero too, sorta. Pardon me, but art thou not a male? Yep. And thy name is Ms. Lion? Yep. So, can I come? So, that kind of very, what's the word for this? Corny humor, bad humor, is all throughout this book. And I guess, again, because it's aimed at younger kids. Yeah. You just kind of have to put up with that. The humor is very bad. There's a lot of humor in here. All of it's quite corny and quite bad. So, like the cat doesn't like the dog. So there's a lot of them just calling themselves names like, we are not a team, you stupid furball, and that is a gym, not a friend. Excuse me. Or let's see. Yeah, once the dog joins the team, he says, "Hey, if we're a super team, shouldn't we have a name? How about Ms. Lion and the others?" The cat, of course, gets upset about that. So, yeah, just very lazy humor, very bad humor. The action I often found confusing. Sorry, I shouldn't say often. I sometimes found confusing. Especially when they get to the fight with Thanos. It was a little bit unclear to me what the Infinity Gems were actually doing. So, for example, Thanos shoots at the cat. The dog sacrifices himself. The cat says, "No, he saved my life. And I was so mean to him. He didn't mean any harm. He was an innocent dog. He can't. I won't let him." You will pay for what you did. Roar. What did I do? And then the dog seems to come alive again. Miss Lion, you're alive? Or was never really dead in the first place? Or did the Infinity Gems do something? I don't know. Either I'm just a little bit slow on the uptake, or maybe some of this is bad writing. What do you... Well, I guess you'll have to read it yourself and decide for yourself. Lockjaw falls asleep here for reasons that are a little bit confusing to me. I think it's because he's tired from teleporting. But it's a little bit unclear. Oh no, sorry. I take it back. The frog does say, "It seems all this teleporting hath taken a greater toll on Lockjaw than we originally thought." So he's sleeping because he's tired teleporting. All right, never mind. That one was explained. Anyways, this is the first 4 issues here. And then there's a second story, which starts here. This is Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers Unleashed, in which the Pet Avengers are reunited for another adventure. First, they find that the frog Thor has gone missing. By the way, I love this image of frog Thor fighting crocodiles. Of course, if there was a frog version of Thor, that's exactly the kind of thing he would do. Fight crocodiles to keep his frog friends safe. Although, where does all this take place, right? Because crocodiles don't live in New York. Anyways, leaving that aside, Frog Thor goes on a journey where he meets the real Thor in Asgard, goes to look for mythical creatures elsewhere, meets the Yeti, and then... Oh, this is another thing I didn't understand. There are a few things in here I thought weren't explained well. There was an orb that sucked up the Yeti, and he was upset because... I don't know why. But it turns out the orb is sucking him over to his home, where he belongs. But there's some sort of monster which is attacking his home. And his home is where all the mythical creatures live. So the Pet Avengers, along with the mythical creatures, have to defeat these monsters. So there's a monster here, and they have to do battle with him. It's a little bit unclear, really, what happens. So there's a choom, and then the saber-toothed tiger character is wood. The creature is made of wood. So I'm not quite sure how he realized that. Well, maybe it's these splinters flying in the air. So then they attack the creature, and the dog gets the hippos to help, kind of. So the hippos go through and knock the creature down. He says, "Now is our moment." And they all attack the creature. But then the creature seems to be up again. How did he get up again after they took out his legs? So they say, "Look out." But then, now... It says now, so what happened? There was some sort of big doom, and now the creature is gone. It's a little bit confusing to me exactly how some of these battles are playing out. And there are a few other points like that throughout the book where it was a little bit confusing to me exactly what I was supposed to be taking away from these action panels. But all that complaining aside, I really do like the idea of this book. Like the idea of a fun, light animal story that is, I guess, part of the continuity of the more grim and dark Marvel universe. Although who knows what the state of the Marvel universe is like currently. But again, my associations of Marvel, like from the 90s, is more of grim and dark than the DC. Actually, I shouldn't say grim and dark. It's not so dark, but more angsty. Characters having more tragedy than the DC universe. To having this fun, silly animal adventure with these make-believe creatures as kind of this side quest taking place in the same universe. I wished at times it had been written a little bit better, that the dialogue wasn't so corny, that the jokes weren't so bad, that the logic of this world was a little bit clearer, or though the action was a little bit clearer. But I was, I think, charmed enough by the general idea of this that I was willing to let a lot go. It turns out, by the way, that the person creating the monsters for this mythical creature is this little girl, and this is one of those stupid things. There's some sort of rule that a child can rule the imagination place for a limited time, and then they have to return. We find out later she's waking up from a dream, so I guess it's only as long as she's dreaming, and she doesn't want to go back. Okay, I guess. I don't know. It seemed like a stupid reason to have these monsters that they had to fight. I guess it works, maybe. It goes along with the fairy tale-esque element of this whole series. But anyways, the point being, even though I might wish that this was a little bit better written and that the jokes weren't so bad, I was largely charmed by the idea of the Pet Avengers and Frog Thor. I mean, how could you not love the idea of a frog who's also Thor? Especially, isn't this a great panel? He's Thor, but he's a frog, and he's going to Asgard. That's great, huh? So, I hate to say it, I think I would be up for more books on the Pet Avengers. So, according to Wikipedia, there are various different collections of the Pet Avengers. There's these two series here, which are collected in this edition. And then there's Pet Avengers Classic, which has a lot of the issues in which these pets originally appeared in Marvel continuity, which unfortunately my library doesn't seem to have in its system. But then there's Avengers versus Pet Avengers, which I've put in a request for at my library, just because I thought, I could go with spending some more time with these Pet Avengers. It's a fun enough concept, even though it suffers in execution. And it's a quick and painless read. This whole thing I read in a few hours. It's the work of an afternoon. Not even an afternoon. It's the work of an evening to read through this thing. It's a neat idea, even if it's not the greatest writing. So I'm starting to repeat myself, I know, and I'm rambling on, which probably means this is a good time to end this video. If you happen to see this, pick it up. It has its charms.